The title of the 2024 documentary America's Burning, directed by David M. Smick and narrated by Michael Douglas, may evoke feelings of hopelessness and endless political divide, but the reality isn't quite as grim. Instead, the film plunges into the fragile and fiery state of the country while offering a hopeful outlook on its future. We spoke with Michael Douglas, special guest Frank Oz, and members of the film's creative team at its New York premiere. This is Hannah and Cailin, back again with Double Talk. I'm Hannah. And I'm Cailin, and we're at the DGA New York Theater for a special screening of America's Burning. This movie, what I like about it is it has kind of a hopeful look to the future, even though things could be better right now, of course, in the country. What would you say is the best way to talk to somebody when your views, perspectives, opinions might differ?
Well, that's really the question, because, I know I was a kid, I was taught, you can get along with everybody if you don't talk about politics or religion, But even when you did, there was something at least proper, you behave properly. What's happened is kind of deteriorated, the way people talk to each other and the behavior and all of that. So I hope, and one of the things I know that David Smick, our director and our writer, really wanted to do with this project is to bring back people finding where you agree rather than where you disagree. And right now it seems to be a time about what you just disagree about rather than what you should be agreeing about. And then the other aspect, I think the most important in this film, is really saving our middle class. This is a country that was very proud on middle class, and people were proud to be part of the middle class in terms of being able to provide for their families, still being able to take a holiday, put your kids in school, and that's gotten a lot tougher.
Start with what makes us human, which is children and families and that which we connect with, and we're not that different when it comes to that, and that's when things start to hopefully bubble.
Although it's very difficult right now, I think the way to do it is always through empathy. I think that you always need to try and put yourself in the shoes of the other person to see the world and feel the world as they are feeling and seeing, even if it's filled with anger or ire or frustration, because at that point you can at least understand where they're coming from and then be able to address it and maybe speak your own frustrations, anger, ire, but to have a civil discourse about it and a way to reach across and find common ground between your differing points of view or the differing beliefs you have in the world and culture and politics and anything. I think that, we've always had that as Americans, and unfortunately that has been eroding, and I think that's more a function of maybe the digital footprint of the interconnectivity of our lives, iPhones and it's very fast communication. Something has stopped the flow of information, ironically, because the flow of information has gotten even faster.
That's such a good point, and I think if you think about it, I guess it's because we say so much, even if it's like on Twitter or something, without thinking, whereas
Absolutely.
before you're having a conversation.
That's a great point. Another thing would be, think about what you're going to say and what it might mean to someone before you say it. In fact, there's a clip from Chris Rock in here, which he says, listen, take in the information, let it swirl around in your head, then make a decision about something. Nobody is, left or right or conservative or liberal. It's silly. We're all parts of, differing points of view and making up a wonderful, rich whole. And that's what it should be. That's what a human being is. We're not members of a team. We're human beings. And I think that's a great point that you make, which is think before you speak.
I think it's, in the film, a guy named Arthur Brooks talks about the Dalai Lama. And the Dalai Lama talks about pause and choose to treat them with warm-heartedness. And I really think that that's actually the way to go.
It's really that simple.
It's kind of that simple. I mean, when it comes down to it, that's really all you need to do. That's the starting point, just like this film is a starting point for a conversation.
Even though this film is called America's Burning, it does have kind of a hopeful tone to it. What makes you hopeful for the future of this country?
Well, first, before I answer that, I would like to go back to the question evokes another question, which is, why is it called America's Burning? And I have to answer that in terms of the director, because for him it's a double-sided thing.
Okay.
America is burning in terms of how we all interpret it's burning right now, but it's also, to quote him, burning for a comeback of the American dream. And so it is a very hopeful, very positive film and a positive take on what we know as Americans to be a means of getting together, talking across walls and barriers, and basically coming together as we always have through history.
This is one of the greatest. This is the greatest country in the world, and I think that we have been through a lot of hard times, even recently, and I think that we have proven that we can bounce back in our resilience, and I just see that happening again.
The film brings together a really powerful group of people, from lawyers to politicians.
Yeah.
What is the common thread? What is one thing they all have in common?
I would say the one thing that they all have in common is the desire to find and the belief that there still exists common ground between everyone. No matter what your beliefs are, no matter how staunch you are to the left, to the right, or in whatever aspect of culture and politics and economics, they've lived long enough and they've seen enough to know that there's always common ground to be found, and we should always strive to find that common ground.
Everybody loves America.
I love that.
Yeah, everybody loves America, and they're all trying to create empathy and let you know that it's okay to disagree. We need to do something though, and I think David, our director, is doing exactly that and taking big chances. He was an economist for 40 years and then switched to filmmaking because he was worried about the future of his grandchildren and his children.
What does it mean to be an American? What does it mean to you? How would you answer that?
Well, it means a lot because I'm an immigrant and I'm a naturalized citizen. My parents came from Belgium when I was only 5 years old. So, and I remember they had to go to school for 7 years to have the right to be an American, to pass a test. So for me, being an American is a tremendous privilege.
What do you think or hope is the number one takeaway from people who watch the film?
I really hope that people come away from this with some amount of empathy and respect for everybody. I hope just listening to the other side when somebody disagrees with you, I think if we can accomplish anybody doing that, we've done our job.
What's the biggest adversity you faced in your career, and how did you overcome it?
This interview right here.
Why? What did we do to you?
I'm scared to
We're
death
trying
of
to
you
be
guys.
nice.
I'm frightened of you two. You're so strong.
I'm sorry. You kind of scare me too. I didn't know you'd be here, so I'm happy.
Women. Strong. It scares the hell out of me. Fortunately, I'm married to a strong woman, so it's great. I think that the biggest adversity has been inside myself.
Okay.
And overcoming things that I grew up with in order to be more who I am.
What gives you hope for the future of this country?
Because I've lived long enough to to see that Americans are very good people. They are very, very good people, and by our nature, we're underdogs, and underdogs always seem to find the right way.